Hi, welcome. My name is Jennifer with Grace Company. We're here live at the Houston Quilt Festival. So glad that you came to join us. I'm here to share with you the TrueCut system. Anybody familiar with the TrueCut system at all? Perfect. Okay. So we have some very unique things about our cut system that help solve several problems. So the things that we deal with is slip of our ruler and wandering of our blade, especially right at that last couple of inches, right? So our rulers, we use a true grip on the bottom, and it helps reduce that slide, and it helps our rulers stay nice and steady right there on our fabric. On the edge of our ruler, we have a rail, and that allows us to utilize this guide that is on our rotary cutter. I'll talk a little bit more about the uniqueness of our rotary cutter as well. But that guide fits right here on the rail, and it goes all the way to the end, and so we don't get that last at the end. It will stay put straight to our ruler all the way through the end. The unique shape allows us to reduce the fatigue in our hands and our wrists and our shoulders as we are doing lots of cutting. So we're going to stay right on top of our blade, and we're pushing down here out of the center of our hand. We're not getting those white knuckles holding onto our blades. We're not turning our wrists to get on top of the blade so that we can get a nice clean cut. We're going to be able to stay right there and have the push here and be able to keep this pretty nice and straight, and we're not literally, we're pushing right down here through the center of our hand. These are also changeable right hand to left hand. You're also able to personalize the handle, so that when you go to your shows, you go to your classes, somebody doesn't run off with yours. You can personalize it, have your name in there, have your cute paper or whatever you want. So this is the 45, and today we're doing a deal on the 45 millimeter My Comfort cutter with the larger ruler, the 6.5 by 24.5, and a pack of the True Grips for $49.95. If that wasn't fantastic, let me tell you, $49.95. Sorry, I didn't mean to yell at everybody. Okay, right here we have the, I'm gonna lose all my words, hold on a second. This is the True Sharp 2, and this sharpens your rotary blades. So this will fit a 28, a 45, and a 60 millimeter blade, not all at the same time. What we do is we add a drop of mineral oil at the top and the bottom, then we place our blade, there's a little groove that it fits nicely in, we close it, clamp it, and we're going to push this button for 10 seconds. It will be flat on our table, and it will be plugged in. And then we're going to repeat that process on the other side. So we'll push this little button, which will allow us to get a good grip on the blade without hurting ourselves. So we'll flip it over, and we'll just repeat that same process on the second side. This will prolong the life of each blade probably 2 to 3 times. It will not take, it works, tutorial. Awesome. No, she doesn't. I do not know this beautiful lady, but I appreciate her. It will not, if you run over a pin or you have an actual chip in your blade, it's not going to replace the metal. We're just going to be bringing it to that nice point again. We're going to be getting rid of the extra. It's just going to bring that back to a point where it's going to be back to cutting beautifully again. So this retails for $79.95, but today, in a combination with this, it'd be $99.95. So it brings this to $50. So each blade you can sharpen 2 or 3 times more and get that nice sharp again. We also have the linear sharpener, which is manual. So this one we would run the blade through about 10 times this way, and then we actually flip it around the other, and we're going to run it again through this way. Personally, at home, this is where I'm at. Got a couple of them.
How much is that one?
This one, the linear cutter is $31.95 today. It's usually 40. Good question, thank you. Like, are we missing any questions anywhere else? Okay. Let me share with you what it really truly works. We have another witness online. Thank you very much. I'm too close to the mic. Sorry. All right, so this right here is a circle cutter. It's our 360 cutter. It allows us to cut anything from a 2 to a 12.5-inch circle. And on the back side, we have a little baby rotary cutter in here, and then our center point. So it's like a compass with a cutter. We're able to adjust the size of our circle here, dial it in, tighten it down. We set it up this way, so your non-dominant hand on top, and we're going to cross over the top of that, and we're going to go all the way around in a perfect center. Yes, I am a fan of this one. I made some really cute jack-o'-lanterns with it, and having, anyway, I'll share that on our website so you can get the pattern for that one. It's really fun. So the circle cutter is, I was looking at the wrong price. Regular $39.95, and today it's $29.95. And this one we're actually may only have a couple left in booth, but we will ship for free. So you can order it and we'll ship it to you, and then you don't have to pack it home with you as well. Do we have any other questions here in the booth? And then we have, am I missing anything? I always miss things. Show the which, we good? Oh, let me show you real quick how easy it is to change out your blades. We have a quick release on the back side, and each one of our cutters comes with the piece that will fit onto the rail of our ruler, and it also comes with a piece center like this, so you can use it with any other ruler in your house. So you can enjoy the benefits of the angle and use all the rulers that you have in your house as well. So you don't only get to use that with our rulers, although I recommend using it with our rulers. Any questions? We got it? Enjoying your taffy? Yes. Thank you so much for stopping. Thanks for joining us.
Well, hello there, Janet. Well, hello there, Jana and Jarek. Do you love using your TrueCut cutting products? Great. Well, pack it all up, because we're going on a trip. Looks like a lot of hassle, Jana.
How am I supposed to carry all of this?
Don't forget all your cutting mats. What is this? Where are all your cutting supplies, Jarek? And where did you get such a fashionable bag? Jarek? Oh shoot, where did all your pins go? Aw, how inconvenient. Now you get to play Find All the Needles Before Mark Steps on Them. Whoopsie daisy. Oh, Jarek, did you drop your pins too? Now you get to play Find All the... Wait a minute, there's that bag again. What kind of shenanigans are you up to? Aw, what's the matter, Jana? Do you wish the Grace Company would, I don't know, make a portable cutting kit in the form of a stylish carrying bag that not only has everything you need, but can also travel with you wherever you want? Oh wait, we totally did that. Introducing the TrueCut Travel Kit, the stylish on-the-go cutting companion. The mini home cutting station you can use in your car, at your friend's house, at the park, in a public library probably, while you're waiting in line at the grocery store. Sure, pretty much anywhere you want to take it. Complete with true grips, ruler, pencils, seam ripper, magnetic wristband. Holy cow, that's a lot. Whoa, there's more? Does all that really fit in there? Go from this to this. Built to last and looking good doing it. Travel with the confidence of a true cutter with the new TrueCut Travel Kit.
Everybody, welcome to Grace's Summer Quilt Camp. I am so glad you're here. My name is Becky Thompson and I have the YouTube channel Power Tools with Thread. If you would like somebody to sew with when you're in your sewing room, check out my channel, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and we can spend some time together in the sewing room. I do a little bit of machine embroidery, I do a little bit of quilting, I do a little bit of long arming, I do a little bit of everything. And I've been quilting for about 12 years now, and I just absolutely love it. I was a garment seamstress for years and years, and my love of quilting came about when my first grandchild was on the way. I am in the home stretch of finishing this quilt for all of these chickens right behind me. This is Lori Holt's chicken salad quilt. And I have spent the past several weeks, months, more like, getting all of these chickens stitched out. And the rest of the quilt has 22 additional fabrics that need to be cut into the right size blocks to do all of the borders around the chickens, and then they will all fit together. Since I need to get that done, I thought I'd bring you along with me. If you are interested in making this pattern, I have got a link below to This guide has been put out by Riley Blake Fabrics for Lori Holt. It was available for free on her blog, and it's also available for free to you. What we're going to cover in the cutting clinic today are cutting ergonomics, why proper cutting techniques are important, and then some tools of the trade. And throughout everything, we're going to talk about safety as well. So, first of all, let's talk about cutting ergonomics. Cutting ergonomics is extremely important because it can take upwards of an hour or more, depending on the size of your quilt, to get all the fabrics cut out for it. And when you're going to be on your feet, or if you're going to do it in a sitting position, as the case may be, it can take a lot of toll on your back, your legs, your feet, your shoulders, your arms, everything, your neck. It can take a lot out of you while you're doing your cutting. The general school of thought is that you need to have about 4 inches of space between your elbow at a 90-degree angle and the cutting surface. It's always a good idea to have either thick-soled shoes or be standing on a thick mat of some sort. That's going to give you relief in your back, and you want to make sure when you're cutting that your shoulders aren't up like this. And one way to keep from doing that is read through the entire pattern ahead of time. I know when you first get your fabric and you're going to make your first cut into it, sometimes there's some anxiety because you don't want to mess up your pretty fabric, and you don't want to waste fabric by making wrong cuts. And so you can alleviate a lot of the anxiety and tension that can go into cutting by reading through the pattern first and fully understanding everything that's going to be cut, how it's going to be cut. If there are any fussy cuts, if you've got directional fabric, set those aside. Just kind of think about it and absorb everything ahead of time. And it's like reading a road map to know where you're going and where you're going to turn. It's the exact same idea. Read your instructions, read your pattern, cover to cover. And that way you can make sure that you know what to expect during the cutting process. One of the reasons that cutting is so incredibly important is because if you make your cuts incorrectly on your fabric, I don't care how straight and perfect your seams are, if your block or your strips are not the right size to start with, it's never going to end up right. And if you're making blocks like this one right here, this is from a quilt. This is a work in progress that I have going on called Woodland Wonderland. Let me pull it up close so you can see. If you're making a block like this and your cutting is incorrect, you're never going to get those little points right, and you always want to make sure you've got enough seam allowance around the outsides for that 1/4 inch seam allowance right there on every point. This block could not be made correctly if it didn't have all of the cutting exactly right according to the pattern. If you are a fan of my favorite pattern designer, Elizabeth Hartman, she makes the most adorable, what I like to call picture quilts. Your cutting has got to be spot on in order to be able to get this right and get the effect that you're looking for. So let's talk about some tools of the trade. There are several different types of rotary cutters that are out on the market, and there are many, many different kinds of mats. I love my TrueCut mat from Grace Company. This mat is heavy duty. It's got a really good feel to it. I've been cutting on it now for several weeks, and I can't tell that I have even taken a rotary cutter to it at all. So a lot of times when you cut, you may want to have a mat on a mat. I have one large mat all over my cutting table, and sometimes when you're cutting fabric, you may want to trim off an edge on one side And then without moving the fabric, because you've got it lined up right where you want, it's easy to just rotate the mat so that now your fabric is in the right orientation to be able to cut it this way as well. That's one of the favorite things I do when I'm cutting fabric. You want it to be easy. The less that you move the fabric on the table, the more accurate your cuts will be. There are many different kinds of rotary cutters that are out on the market. There are straight rotary cutters. This is the TrueCut straight rotary cutter. And then there are also ergonomic rotary cutters. If you have wrist issues or you don't have a lot of hand strength and you want to use the strength in your arm, this might do it for you so that you're not having to use a whole lot of hand strength. The rotary cutters from Grace Company come with a special little button right here down at the bottom, and I'm going to talk to you about that in just a second. Grace Company also makes TrueCut rulers. I love these rulers. You are guaranteed to get straight, even cuts with these. Now, there are certain things that I look for in a ruler when I'm going to purchase one. And the first thing is, can I see through it? You definitely want to be able to see through your rulers so that you can see the lines on the mat and be able to make sure that your lines are accurate and level and even with your mat. And that way you can make sure you're going to get straight cuts. Another thing I look for in a ruler is to make sure that it's got that extra ½ inch. And a lot of times people see that and they're like, why would I need a ½ inch? You can see here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and a half. That extra ½ inch is awesome if you have got to cut strips, 2½ inch strips. Maybe you've got to cut 4½ inch blocks because of the 1/4 inch seam allowance that's needed on each piece that's going to be sewn together. Most quilt blocks are cut with that extra ½ inch, and it just makes it so much easier when you are cutting to be able to look at this solid line right through here to the edge of the fabric versus being able to have to look for a line in the middle between those larger 1 inch increment lines. And that extra ½ inch allows you to do that. Of course, if your pattern doesn't call for the extra ½ inch, then you can turn it around, and the numbers on these Grace rulers are numbered in such a way that you can now see them whole or half coming from either direction. That's really important. Another thing that I really like about these rulers, if you are brand new to cutting, or again, if you have dexterity issues, I want to point out these TrueCut rulers have got a lip on them. There's like an edge on the ruler. See right here, there is an edge to this ruler. And that goes with the little button I was talking about earlier on the rotary cutter. When you first get the rotary cutter and you open it up, this is that extra little ruler guide button that I was telling you about. And you can use the rotary cutter as a standard rotary cutter and not have to use the ruler guide on it if you don't want to. You can just pull the guard back with your thumb and then use it as a regular rotary cutter and just run it right up the side. And then close up the guard. You always want to be safe and close up the guard. If you're new to rotary cutting, or maybe you have had problems in the past where it'll take off somewhere and you're like, well, why did that happen? Hey, it happens, okay? One of the things you can do is pop on this guard. Now this guard right here will replace this little button, and it is so easy to do that. You just turn it upside down and pop, just slide this little button right here and the button will pop off. There, see? Now, look how the blade stayed intact on the rotary cutter. That's because there's a little magnet in here that is holding that blade in place, so you don't have to worry about your blade popping off. I love this. Then you just take the ruler guard button and hold it over it and pop it right on. So simple. And what this does is it has, I don't know if you can see it, it has a channel right there, okay? And that channel fits on the little ridge that we were talking about earlier, and will guarantee that your rotary cutter stays exactly where you want it to. So if you are new to rotary cutting and you're worried about the blade taking off on you, this will solve that problem. It fits right on there. You push it forward and you're never going to run off and have it take away from you. Whenever I'm going to cut fabric, I like to have multiple sizes of rulers handy and available to me. This is the 6.5 by 24 TrueCut ruler, and I like this one if I'm going to be cutting up some fat quarters. Fat quarters are 18 by 22, so you will have ample ruler length to be able to cut through that full 22 inches. I also like to have the 6.5 by 12, because if you're going to cut up a pre-cut like a layer cake or a set of 10-inch squares, 5-inch squares, whatever you're going to cut, this one will do the trick for you. It's always best to have a ruler that is just slightly larger than the fabric that you're going to be cutting, because if I was to use this on a set of 10-inch squares, sure I could, or even 5-inch squares, I could, but it's a little bit unwieldy. It's just easier to use a ruler that is closer to the size of the fabric that you're going to be cutting. So let's take a look at the pattern and see how I'm supposed to cut my fabrics for my chickens. Right here in the pattern is the fabric cutting guide for the fat quarter. And this little bitty line right down here, this shows me where the selvage is, that little double line. That represents the selvage. So I need to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5 by 8.5 inch squares, and I need to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5 by 4.5 inch squares, and then another 2, 4.5 by 4.5 inch squares. So let's get ready to cut our fabric. Sometimes you may want to cut the selvage off ahead of time. I'm not going to do that at this time. I want to make sure I've got the orientation of the fabric right so that I get enough squares out of my fabric, because if I cut it wrong, I won't be able to get what I need. I have my selvage facing me, just like in the picture, and I need to make 4.5 by 8.5 inch squares across the top. I've got 2 pieces of fabric here. Since I've got so much to cut, I'm going to do 2 at a time to make it a little bit easier. So I am going to make sure I'm looking at where the selvage is toward me and the selvage is at the bottom of the pattern. I'm going to turn this to the side, and what I need to do is clean up this edge over here. When you're trying to clean up an edge, it's very difficult to do it over here on the far edge of the fabric. So you would want to start to clean up the edge with it over here. And I say over here, I am right-handed, so I will cut from the right side all the time. If you are left-handed, you would want to do this over here and cut from the left side. What I like to do is take the fabric and put it just over a line on the mat and make sure that the edge of the fabric with a line on the mat, it doesn't matter which line, I just want to make sure I've got 2 points of reference, a vertical point of reference over here and a horizontal here. That's going to allow me to just go ahead and put the ruler on the mat, and now I'm going to align one of the straight inch lines on the ruler with an inch line on the mat, and that's going to ensure that my ruler isn't turned one way or the other. So now I know I'm going to have a straight cut right up this side. All I have to do is pull the guard back on my rotary cutter, and then I'm going to take my ruler and start behind the fabric. Your hand placement needs to be well away from the edge. I use my fingers open up here. I'll cut halfway and then I'll move my hand placement to put it up here and then cut and finish the rest of the cut. So starting behind the fabric, push straight down. I'm going to move the mat for the camera, and then I'm moving my hand and finish up the cut. Then I have this tiny bit that is waste. As I said earlier, if you can avoid moving your fabric, you should. So now I know my fabric has a perfectly straight line right here. So what I would do now is just rotate the mat so I can cut coming from the other direction. My first cut needs to be an 8.5-inch strip. I'm on the 6 right here, so I'm gonna go to 12. That is 6, 7, 8.5. As I said, I'm gonna use that extra half-inch that is on this ruler. It makes it so much easier. If you need to count them out, then do so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.5. My points of reference are the solid inch line is lined up with the inch line on the mat and down here on the bottom of the mat. So I am looking to make sure this is going to give me a straight cut. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.5. This is perfect. Another thing I love about these rulers is that they have holes in them for you to be able to grip better. Again, I'm going to start behind the fabric, push it halfway, hold the rotary cutter in place, reposition my hand, and finish the cut, and then slide it away. So now I need to cut 4.5-inch strips. So on the ruler here, I'm going to count over to the 4.5. This tells me on the ruler, if I line up this straight line right here, the 4.5-inch line on the edge of the fabric, then when I cut it, it's going to be a 4.5-inch cut over here. So I'm going to take my 4.5-inch line and I'm going to line it up top to where I can see the fabric split in half in the little circle that I'm looking through the middle of, top to bottom. I'm going to take my rotary cutter again, start behind the fabric, and push forward. That's a perfect 4.5-inch strip. Move this, and now I'm going to do another 4.5-inch strip. Now see how this one is in the middle of the inch line here, so it's actually sitting on the 4.5. That's okay. Now I'm going to be using the lines on the ruler to be able to cut my next 4.5-inch strip. So it doesn't matter where the fabric is here on the mat. On these rulers, at the inch mark, there is a little, looks like a window. And you want to see your fabric, the edge of your fabric, right in the middle of that window so that it butts up underneath that 1-inch line. So I'm going to put my ruler so that the 4.5-inch line is right on the edge. I can see half of my fabric through that little window, top to bottom, perfectly. It looks great. I'm going to start from behind and push forward halfway, reposition my hand, and push through. Now on these two 4.5-inch strips, I need to cut 4.5-inch squares. I'm going to take my fabric and place it so all edges of the fabric are just over any given inch line. I don't want to waste too much, but I want to clean up that edge, so I start with a clean edge. Now this one will work best if I have got a shorter ruler because I can cut easier without having all of the ruler out here. If your ruler wants to take off on you and slide, TrueCut also makes true grips. And these are little silicone donuts that work fabulously. I have got them on the back of my rulers. And my rulers, when you put pressure on them, they don't go anywhere. They will hold fast to the mat and they will hold your fabric in place so it doesn't take off on you either. I need 4.5-inch cuts. However, this time I'm just going to clean up this edge. I'm going to put one of these horizontal inch lines right here, right on the edge of my fabric, and make sure that it is straight, perpendicular to where I'm going to cut. And my other edge, vertical, is right here, and that will allow me to clean up my edge. Open the guard, make your cut, close your guard. Now I'm going to turn the mat and do my 4.5-inch squares. I want to make sure that my extra 1/2 inch is over here, and I'm going to align the 4.5-inch mark top and bottom so I can see half of my fabric through the little windows, and I've got it straight here on the bottom. Open the guard and do one smooth cut. There we go. And the next one, I'm going to set my 4.5-inch line right on the edge of the fabric. Make sure everything is square. I've got this edge right here for reference and this edge right here. Everything is square. Open the guard. Start behind the fabric. One smooth motion. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6. I needed a total of 6 4.5 by 4.5-inch blocks, and that's what I've got. And I need to get 4 4.5 by 8.5-inch blocks here. So I'm going to get my edges as close as possible here and put them over a line just a little bit. I want them both level on any given line here so I know that they're straight and they're just over, and I'm going to trim up my cutting edge so I get a nice clean cut to start with. And now I need a 4.5-inch cut. I'm just going to do the same thing that I did before and get 4 4.5-inch cuts. Excellent. There we go. 2 down, 20 to go. One of the things you may need to do with any of your blocks is to square a block. And this is Penny right here, and she needs to be a 12.5-inch block, just like the rest of the flock. Squaring up a block is really easy with the TrueCut square rulers. This is a 12.5-inch TrueCut square ruler, and this also has that extra little ledge right there that you can use to cut. But what's nice about this one is it's got little indentation on the end so that you can run the track of the ruler guard right in there from top to bottom on all the corners. Now, I don't have any true grips on this yet, and I don't want it to wiggle around on me, so I'm going to put some on. They come in a package with 15. And you just peel this little donut off, and it'll leave the little middle on the paper. And it's just clear little donut, and one side is sticky. And then you want to take this and put it on the back in any of these center parts. So on the back of the ruler, I'm just going to take the grip and I'm going to put it right in the middle of one of these squares right here, and it's clear so I can still see through it just fine. I have used these on my rulers for years. They're wonderful. There we go. That ought to hold everything in place. Down here on Penny, I'm going to look to make sure I've got an even amount from the farthest edge of the design, which is the tail of the chick here, over to this edge. So this looks like it is 1 1/4. And over here, I have got a little bit more than 1 1/4, and you just have to also take into consideration this extra 1/2 inch. I'm going to move this a little bit, so there's 1 1/2, and over here to this side is 1 1/2. So now I know that it is correct side to side, and I need to do the same thing top and bottom. We're ready to cut. So I'm going to hold my hand to stabilize the ruler, open the guard, and start behind the fabric and push. Pull this to the side. I'm going to turn my mat. It's very handy to have a rotary mat in this case. I'm going to put it here again. Go off the edge. You don't want to move your ruler once you get this set. That's why it's handy to have a mat on a mat. And there we go. She's all squared up. She looks great. Isn't that perfect? I love it. To change the blade in the TrueCut rotary cutter, it is so incredibly simple. You just flip it over, and there is a little button back here, and you push the button forward, and that will remove and release the little button that holds this on, or if you're using the ruler guide button, it'll release that one, whichever. You take your new blades and open up the package. These are TrueCut blades, and I like to use a little magnet just to grab a hold of it and kind of scooch it off. And then you're going to want to dispose of this safely, sometimes in a used medication container. That will work. You can wrap them up into several layers of aluminum foil and make them so that they're nice and thick and nothing's going to catch on it, or you're not going to cut your hands when you dispose of this. They are incredibly sharp. You want to get another blade. I pick them up, and then I will just slide them without touching the edges and get a hold of one and set it down on the table, and then use the magnet that's in here to properly place the blade into the rotary cutter. If you need to move it around to center it, you can, and then you're just going to take your little button and pop it right back in the middle, and you're in business, ready to go. That was so simple. Okay, campers, that's it. I hope you learned a lot. I hope you got something out of this. And I hope you take a look at the TrueCut system. I really like it. I love the mat. I love the cutters. I love the ease of changing the blades. And I love the rulers because I can see everything that I'm cutting. If you like this video, you want more tips and tricks for quilting and any for machine embroidery, please check out my channel, Power Tools with Thread, on YouTube, and we will talk to you soon. You guys go sew something. Bye.
Good morning, campers.
Hi, campers.
We are so excited to be with you today. I'm Junior Counselor Devin,
I'm Carla.
and we are here at Echo Lake, and Carla's going to teach me all about echoing.
Echo stitching is just a great way to accentuate or emphasize applique or quilting design, but it also can help you as you're quilting along with a pantograph, get you to a new area where you can grow and expand. Get you out of some jams at times. We're going to have some drills today, and we're going to practice echo quilting.
I'm so excited. Now, I'm a total novice. I have not done any quilting. Is this going to be an advanced technique, or is this something that I'm going to be able to do?
Now, very simple. We're going to start out very basic, very simple, but I'm going to challenge Devin, because that's what we're here at camp to learn, is to challenge ourselves and grow as quilters. So, yep, going to start out easy, but boy, you're in for some hard work. And you know what? By the end, I know Devin's going to be excited about what he's able to do and how he's able to accomplish that. You know what? He can teach the next segment himself.
Oh, I don't know if I'm there yet, but I'm ready to start. I'm ready to learn.
All right, so let's get started. So I sat down and started thinking about what would it take to start out very basic and very easy.
That's what I need, yes.
We're going to start out with just straight lines, but not only just the straight lines. So we're going to go across it, and echo quilting is just a repeat stitch. So we're going to start out with the straight line here, go across, come back and forth, trying to keep it as even as possible. So how do you keep it even without marking on your quilt? Well, we're going to use our quilting as our guide. So the back and the front are going to space our lines as we're stitching across evenly. So that's.
I thought I was going to need a ruler or something.
No, and not with this one. Echo quilting that's one of the benefits, that you really don't have to mark up your quilt unless you really want to. I'm going to have him do it diagonally as well. And then we're going to change it up just a little bit, okay? Because I'm going to challenge you. Then we're going to start with waves, and we're going to do the waves on a diagonal. And then we're going to jump into a little more complicated design, but Devin's up for the challenge, so let's give him a good workout. So I'm going to just mark on the quilt a square. And this is a blue pen, so sorry about that. Didn't have a lot to work with as I was coming, so you can see that.
Mm-hmm.
Square right there.
Wow, you're so good at freehanding squares, Carla.
I'm trying to be better at freehanding. So there's our diagonal. But we're going to practice first on a piece of paper, because I want him to understand the movements and I want him to practice control. So I brought some blank paper here.
Okay.
And we'll draw our squares on it. And we'll both practice together, okay? I will let you have this marker here, okay?
Thank you.
And I will use this one here. But there's a way I want you to hold your pen or your marker as you get to the machine, because we don't want to hold it down here, because that's not how we're holding our machine. Okay, we want to hold it up here away from it, because that's where we're standing. We want to practice good posture, but we don't want to be so anal and so tight, okay? But we do want to learn control as we're moving along. So I want you to just start right here on this top line. We'll say that's the ditch line. So you've pieced your square, so we're going to start on the ditch line, and we're just going to stand up. And if I'm trying to show you with my camera going down, but I wanted you to keep it straight up and down as possible, because that's how we're standing. Come down a little bit and move back across, trying to keep it as stable as possible, and then just come back and across, trying to keep it as even as you can. Look at how good he's doing.
Well, it's a little rickety, but I'm trying.
But it's not so easy, but it's not that difficult.
You start to get the hang of it a little
Yeah,
bit.
you do. So you go a little faster, and sometimes going a little faster really helps. But we're going to stop right there, because look how good. I'll just show you how well he did. You did a good job.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to take that and we're going to add that element of starting on a diagonal.
Okay.
So with the diagonal, it's a little different. So we're just going to come up, start up with your pen straight, and then move across and then come down to the diagonal, and we're just going to come down just a little bit on that ditch line. Okay. And we want to make it as even as possible, and then we're just going to go back up. Come across, down, come across, whoops, sorry, there. And then we'll get to that corner, and we'll go diagonal, diagonal. And now we're in the corner, so we want to come across our ditch line to get up out of it, and we want to go up.
It's kind of therapeutic in itself, just
it's
just
a lot of
drawing
fun.
the lines.
Yeah, nice job. See, you've got this.
Oh, good.
That's half the battle, okay? Just thinking about it. Okay, just hold it up and go back and forth and draw back and forth.
So I'm doing this,
Hold it
the
straight
straight
up,
across
and I'm going to
first.
pull that out of the way, okay? That's what camp is all about, is learning new techniques and doing them over and over until you get it right. All right, so do you know how to turn the machine on?
I'll need a refresher.
I'm going to show you, okay? Give you a refresher. So we're going to start up here, okay? So I'm going to show you how to do it, and then I'm going to let you pull the threads up. So we're going to insert the needle, and then we're going to bring it back up, and then we're going to pull up our bottom thread. Really important, Devin, because we don't want any dangling threads down below. So I'm going to let you move it up here to this corner, right here, and do it.
Okay, so I'm just
using this button here. Insert it, hold on to this thread here. Yeah, so you'll have to swap hands there. There you go. And then push it one more time. As you're holding onto this thread, pull the machine away and see how it pulls that tail up. It's pulling that tail up. We're going to grab that tail and then we're going to move back, okay? So now, to anchor the stitch, we're going to do a couple single stitches to anchor it. And I don't know if I've ever shown you guys really how to anchor your stitches as you're free motion quilting. On the automation, it automatically does it. It's called tie-off stitch, okay? So we want to move our needle right over here to where it's pulled up. That little mark right there. And then you're going to do a couple stitches, okay? Just really close. And that anchors it, okay? Great. Now, to turn it on, you just push this button here, the big button there, and then you have to hold it down and start moving across.
I'm just following.
Yeah, just follow the lines that you drew. There you go. Now, use your foot as your guide. This time we're using our foot, not our lines, okay?
Okay. Oh, okay.
So
you
come
have
down,
the bottom of the foot kind of go on the line.
Right. The back of the foot running across the back. And
so remind me, why is it called an echo stitch? What are we echoing?
Because it's a repeat stitch, okay? So when you're echoing, you get that vibration of that echo, and it's a repeat stitch. There you go. Yeah. So you're just going to use your foot right there. Okay. And then turn it off right there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pull our threads forward and cut it, okay? So pull it to make a tail. Actually, I'm going to give it a little tail right there, okay? Pull it, and now we're going to pull it back, and you're going to insert the needle one more time. And you're going to hold on to it, and we're going to pull that thread up, and then we're going to get our nifty little scissors here and cut our threads.
I did it.
Yes, you did.
Am I an echo stitcher now,
yes,
officially?
You are. Okay. So now we're going to refine his technique a little bit more, okay? I want you to use the foot a little bit more rather than the lines, okay? So when you're echo stitching, I'm just going to show you right here. I'm just going to do another one. So just show you how to use your foot. So I want the back of my foot to run along the line here. Okay.
I was using the bottom, which is why it was now ending up between all my lines.
Yeah. So just use the back of your foot. That's why I wanted to show you. Run across.
Oh, yes.
Okay, now we're going to come down just a little bit till the back of my foot, and then we're just going to go back and forth. It puts them a little closer together, but it makes it a little more even as we go. And you'll just go back and forth as you're quilting. Okay? You'll just pull the bottom thread up. Really important.
And kind of pull that out.
Yeah, he's got it.
And then how far am I? Oh. I lost it.
Yeah, you lost it, but that's because it's hooked to the bobbin. And that's why. Okay, so now don't try to be too anal about this going diagonal. Just come straight down. Yeah, and don't worry about it. Just, go straight up. Diagonals are tough. It takes a little work and a little more control on your quilt. That's what I wanted you to try them and do. Nice job.
Thanks. Trying really hard to follow the back of the foot.
Yeah, so make sure that the back of the foot is hitting that line, okay? Now come up and so come back just a little bit. Now go up this direction. And now come down, now hit the back of the foot, hit it.
It's a real skill. It's the real thing you have to practice and work on.
Right.
Okay.
Turn that off, and we're ready to go to our next one.
I'm almost doing the waves.
Yes,
just
you
naturally.
are. And that leads us right
skipping
into
to the next step,
waves.
everybody. That's what
So
we're doing
we're
here.
just going to do another little box. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm just leading this checks. Okay. So there. All right. Here you go. All right. Okay.
Do I need the marker? No marker.
You can try it without. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So now we're going to throw a little bit more of a monkey wrench, but the wavy lines are a little easier to do because it's hard to keep them nice and straight, okay? But we'll see if they are or if they're a little bit more of a challenge to get
Okay.
the waves nice and even. Okay.
You're right.
So I'm going to challenge Devin to go across without marking it at all. Don't do these little tiny bumps
Just
because
little-
you kind of,
I'm
as
doing
you're
that anyway,
echoing,
right?
if you do tiny, tiny, tiny little bumps as the waves, you'll lose it and it'll start to flatten out and become even.
So something I noticed too is as I'm doing this, I feel like the more confident I am, the more precise the line is. If I'm really getting nervous, that's when I start to
and
get
you're
bumpy.
holding on to it
Yeah.
so tight that
So
it
you
starts to
kinda-
become really shaky. So loosen up,
Just release your inhibitions.
take a deep
just
breath, and
let it
enjoy
happen.
the process. And just keep practicing, and you will get more and more confident in your stitching abilities. All right, just right along that ditch line to the next one, and we'll just go all the way across, and we'll start here, going from the bottom to the top. We'll
Just
really
waves
work
again?
out. Yeah, we're gonna do the waves.
Okay.
So you're gonna come in and kind of
Should I
do
go
the
up?
waves at the diagonal.
Add a diagonal. Okay.
Yeah, at the
Should
diagonal.
I start at this corner?
Yeah, start at that corner.
Okay. I feel like I'm gonna get caught halfway
You,
through.
you won't.
Okay. All right. I trust you. I trust
Okay.
you. All right. Am I going this way? Just all the way across?
Yeah, go that way, and sometimes it's easier just start in the middle with the waves. There you go. Look at how good he's doing. And for him, starting in the middle and going across, and then he'll do the top and the bottom, and then he'll right along his stitch line and do the rest of it. Look at, you've mastered it,
I'm doing
dude.
it, Carla.
Yeah.
I'm doing it.
Look how good you're doing.
Miracles happening every day at Echo Lake.
Hello and welcome to our demonstration today. We are going to be talking about this cutie frame. We are at the Houston Quilt Festival. And we're so glad that those of you who are able to join us online today. We're going to show you this awesome frame that allows us to do the free motion quilting in a way that will take the stress away, and we don't need the dedicated space of a big long arm. We can use our own domestic machine and work here, be able to get that quilting done and all those tops finished by Christmas. I don't know about that. It depends on how many quilts you have. How many of you are actually familiar with the Cutie frame at this point at all? Yeah? Okay, so we got some knowledge of what we've got going on here. All right, so let's see if I even know where to start. Okay, so we have clips here. We're gonna move these because I'm gonna put a piece of fabric on. But this has a carriage, an upper carriage and a bottom carriage. And it allows us to, I'm just gonna bang it around as I do it. This is gonna be fun. Give that soft ride for your sewing machine. And I should have taken this other bar off before I did it, but here I am. I'll show you. I totally did it wrong. So this goes on top and it allows us, from my angle, gives us the movement we need to give that nice soft motion. This bar right here, we're going to slide to the side and slide to the side, which would have made my last step easier. Then you're going to take your own handy dandy machine. Is this what yours looks like? Just like this? Yours might be a little bit heavier than mine. It goes on the top carriage, and we're going to use these clamps. They slide in. We're going to unlock them and slide them along the rail. They will hold your machine in place, and then we just lock them in place. And there are 4 that come with this. So there's 2 here and 2 here at the front, and that allows you to position and run your machine through. So now you're securely in place, and it'll hold your machine here. Then we're going to take our rail, and it'll go back through. And lock them in place. So now your machine is going to move really smoothly. Let me show you how we're going to put the fabric in place. So you can fit any size quilt on this. You're just going to, the bigger it is, the more zones you're going to have to work through. But you're not going to have to strong arm and push your quilt through and around your machine. This is making our machine do the moving without that stress on our, us. So of course, we would have a full quilt sandwich and not just one piece of fabric. But we're going to put our fabric, and then we're going to snap. If you're stronger than me today. Oh, because I'm doing it the wrong way. There we go. Snap our fabric in place. And the same with the other bar. This is just curved. It's got notches in it too, which allows us to have that fabric nice and tight on the bar. And we're just gonna pull it around, and we can even pull it a little tighter. So we want it tight, but not, I think we found, what I'm listening to, is that we don't want it like really, really tight, but we want it pretty tight so we have that firm. And then any of the excess fabric, no matter how big our quilt is, we're just gonna roll that up, and we're gonna use our bungees here to secure that extra quilt piece here. Of course, when we have our thicker pieces, this will go a little bit tighter, but this is the idea that we're going for, so that we can have all of our pieces nice and tight and out of the way, so it's not gonna be in our way when we're quilting. And the same for the front part. This one I just have a small piece, but it's the same. If you just give it a little roll or a scrunch, then we can use our clamps, hook it around, and then everything is up and out of the way, and your machine will have that access to be right here in your quilt. If you have a machine that is a little bit taller in the bed, it also adjusts here on the side with these clamps, and I'll show on this other side so you guys can see over there too, but it'll shift up so that you have that room and the clearance for your machine. So on this side, if you can see, just going to move the clamp and we'll just slide it up and it clicks into place here. But then you want to clamp it into place afterwards. So it brings the motion a little different and makes you able to do your quilting in a way that's fast and easy without having all that gear that you have to have that dedicated space for. This can very easily fold up and get stored away under a bed or in your closet. There's actually, if you join our Facebook, we've got a Facebook group for our cuties, and there's somebody who's actually rigged it where they have it mounted on their ceiling. So he used a couple of bike pulleys that you would store a bike with, and he rigged it up so it would go up to the ceiling. I thought it was a pretty clever innovation, a way to store it away. If you've got all your fabric stashed underneath this and that and the other, then you can also find other ways. So here at the show, the Cutie frame is on sale for $689. It is normally $1,199. So it's a pretty incredible show special that we have today. But let me show you how easy and light this is as well. So all you have to do is take things back down, put your favorite machine away, take your carriers off. I'm just going to make these fall right under the table. This is my goal. And it's light enough that we can just store it away. But it's got that weight to it that you have, and you can put it on any table. You can sit down to it. You can stand up to it, whatever is most comfortable for you. Do we have any questions? So you can fit up to an 11-inch throat space on this. We can actually, the 19 fits on it. So you can actually get along our machine and it will fit on the tracks. You won't use the carriers. It'll go straight on this track and it'll do all the...
What's the largest size quilt?
You can do any size quilt on this machine. You're just going to be doing it in zones. So the frame is going to be your limitation for the space that you can sew, but then you'll just adjust it over, just like with any, you're just doing it in sections. And every time you shift it, any of that excess quilt, we have the bungees here, so you just roll it up and have it kind of bunched, tucked right next to it so it's out of the way so that you can cover that space in the hoop right here.
Hey, can you use, I just sit down, I have
No, ask all the questions, I love it.
Can you use a baby lock sewing machine?
Absolutely. Any domestic machine, you missed the part with the carriages in place. No, it's totally cool. So this carriage right here, it also has adjustable handles. So you can adjust this, they can go longer, they can change an angle. But this part of the carriage right here, you just want to make sure that your machine isn't too wide. We can look at the measurements and find out exactly what you have. But it needs to fit on this carriage. That's the only real restriction to if your machine will work. But you would set it up like this, and then your machine would be here, and it would be locked into place with these clamps. Like this amazing machine. This looks just like yours though, right? Lock your machine in here, and then you'll put your quilt, the quilt bar comes back through. I'm just gonna keep demoing this, it's pretty cool. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it just has to fit the footprint of this and you're good to go. It can be in your dining table, on your cutting table. You just want a nice stable surface. Any other questions? And the special is $689 today. Its regular price is $1,200. But you can also, if you're here, you can play over here. We've got a take and make booth, and over here we have some cuties on display, so you can see them with machines in place and actually get a feel for it and see if it's something that would work well. Over in this side right here of our booth, yeah, there's several set up, and then we have some machines over here if you want to play over there as well. Oh yeah, they're working on these fun projects. So you get to play over there and you get to take one of these as you go, and then we want to see what you do with it. So then you can take it home and play, and then send us a message and show us what you've done with the panel. Thanks so much for joining us. I hope I answered some questions and helped you understand the Cutie a little bit better. Thanks so much.